Hi everybody, welcome to Art on the Creek. My name is Anne and I've done a little shopping. I wanted to try this portable painter, the micro painter and the portable painter combination. Got these on Amazon, so we're going to talk about those in a second. And I also got the Mission Gold. This was on here, but I couldn't put it back on, so it comes wrapped in a sleeve. The Mission Gold watercolors. They are pure pigments. Set of 24 plus 2 little tubes. So are you ready? Let's get to it. The Portable Painter is a company that makes these couple of portable palettes here, and this one's really cool because you can put it on your leg over a rail, hold it in your hand. If you're on the beach, the really good benefit of this is it can be elevated up from the sand so that you won't get sand in your paints. And let me tell you, if you have taken your watercolors to the beach, you will get sand in them, and as you know, sand gets everywhere on the beach, and it just it never comes out. So yeah, there it is, picture of it on the beach. So that helps you, keep it a little bit elevated and clean. So let's open this up. I'm always looking for a good little travel palette. Okay, so this one comes with some literature. Now, at first glance, this is not my style. It seems a little bit flimsy, so I do want to test it in the field. But you can see when it's sealed, it's about the size of a cell phone, which that's true. Of course, it's about as thick as 2 cell phones, but it is about the dimension, length and width of a cell phone. And they call it pocket size. So I don't know, it definitely fit in a bag for me. That won't fit in my pocket. It would fit in my back pocket. Okay, so it gives you all of these things, instructions on how to open it here. So you're going to slide this off and then you open it up. These become your water containers. Whoops. There's a band here. We'll find out what that's for here in a minute. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. It's fall and the leaves don't like me. So, okay, this is how this goes in. This is your water container, and it just slides in here really simply. I was expecting a click. Okay, so there's one. Let's do the other side. Maybe I didn't have this on the right side because that does look like a stop bar. Okay, you need to be smarter than me to work this. Okay, so there's your setup right there. And you put your water in here. Oh, they have this set up on the side as such. This back on here. So that you can keep the lock thing, this little slide here, you can keep that in there. Or you can keep pencils, brushes, both, what have you, if you need that. For me, the first thing I would do is hit that. So my brushes are in a different location. But let's open it up. Let's see what it involves here. It has one tray that comes out this way, and that feels pretty secure. It feels like it's pretty strong plastic. It's a little bit flexible, which is good because it feels like it's that kind of plastic that if it gets really cold, it's not going to crack and break on you. And this one here, same thing. And now it says how to open your double brush. So it comes with a brush. I can tell you right off the bat that this brush does not look that high quality. The handle, oh, look at that. That was a surprise. The handle has, is just kind of hollow plastic, and it doesn't look like the ferrule is attached that well. That could just be my opinion. So let me know if you've ever used these brushes, if you like them. If I were in the store, I would pass this brush up. So I will have to test it and see how it works. This looks like about a 3 or 4, and then the one inside was maybe, it goes like this, maybe a 2. So if you're painting something small like a postcard, this would be nice. It probably would be all you would need, but I already have portable brushes, so we'll see if I use this. Put that back in there. Whoops. Oh, for heaven's sakes. There we go. So that lies in there. And then inside here, okay, can't figure out how to get those out, although it looks like they do come out. Maybe they're already affixed with these sticky dots that are in there because I didn't get any sticky dots. Let me double check. No, there were no sticky dots that came with it. But as far as just this goes, super happy. I think this might be the gentleman that designed it. Yep, his name is Steve Patton. And it says he is delighted, wants us to be delighted with this new palette. Please let your friends know about it on social media. So that's how he's taking these reviews, is through reviews like mine. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this up. Does show you how to open that brush, by the way. Oh, hey, there's a feature I forgot to show you guys. Let's get this brush back out for demo. And this is a brush rest. Now that I could handle, because the chances of me doing this would be not as great as knocking that off, and it will hold full-size brushes too. My travel brushes are kind of in between these two, so that I could give an A+ to. That's good. I'll see if I can figure out how to get these pans out, and we'll fill it up and see how it works. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. I've decided to speed this part up a little bit because what I tried to do was use a palette knife to take this out, and while I can get the palette knife in there, it's not going anywhere. So I decided I'm just going to fill it like it is. I really like the soft plastic on this palette. That's kind of cool. And I like that too, that you can just take it off of here. There is no finger ring, so if you're going to hold it, you'd have to just grab it like that. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clean up my mess. And I'm going to go into these Mission Gold here. And I think what we're going to do, but I want to fill these, I want to fill this with these. So here we go. I have returned. Let's just go through real quick an unboxing. I'm going to show you how this was packaged, because it was packaged kind of nicely, I think. So let me move this out of the way. That's so exciting. Just preview. Look how pretty. I can't wait to use them. Okay, so Mission Gold. It came with that plastic sleeve on it, and it did note, this looks like Korean packaging. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it also says United States and Great Britain there, which means you would think there would be some English language material in here. But the packaging on the outside is definitely in English. These are pure pigment colors, meaning they contain only one pigment. So you can mix your own multi-pigment colors, which is really kind of cool. And we open the box. And here are the information you have on the inside. I got 24 colors plus a 15 milliliter tubes plus 2 7 milliliter tubes. And I'll show you those. Here's the information, the keyword information on there. However, do I not have it unfold all the way? No, I don't see any English language on here whatsoever. So I speak a little bit of French and a little bit of Italian, but not enough to translate this. So that's a job for Google. I'll do that later. Oh, I'm so dumb. Here it is, big, 5 keywords right here in front of me. I seriously did not read that. So I imagine that whatever it says in here is probably the same thing it says here. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here it's going to tell us about, go this way first, the 5 keywords about the pure pigments. Oh my gosh, I'm doing this all wrong. There we go. Okay, so superior light fastness, color uniformity, exceptional solvency means they'll get wet, reactivate easily. Non-toxic, no chemical additives. They do say on here that they are cosmetic grade preservatives, so everything in there should be safe to use if you're using this with children. So here is the range. They have a range of 48 colors on this flyer. That may have changed since the time I purchased this. This was on sale on Amazon, and I'm not entirely sure why. I don't know if it was old stock or if they were looking to redo their packaging. I have no idea, but I got a really good price on it on Amazon. So you have this little cover cloth. I never know what to do with these things, but I will save it. And it comes with this, and at first I didn't know what this was either, but then it occurred to me when the lid is closed, you can put that on there and keep it together. So the presentation is very nice. I like the gold tubes. Here are the 2 smaller tubes, the Chinese white and the ivory black. And to be honest, I'm really glad that they made these smaller tubes because, as most of you know, we just don't use these much in watercolor. Now, what you can do with the Chinese white is you can mix with your other regular pigments and kind of make a pastel range. However, some colors, particularly Prussian blue, will lose their light fastness, especially if they're mixed with something like Chinese white. And what happens is that white reflects the light back off of the pigment, and it causes it to fade a little bit. Interestingly enough, with Prussian blue, museums will put their Prussian blue works in storage periodically because when Prussian blue is put back in the dark, it can regenerate and regain its vibrancy. So that's kind of cool. It's like the poinsettia of artist pigments. Anyway, these are the small tubes here. And then here are the other tubes. We've got a lemon yellow, permanent yellow light, permanent yellow deep, autumn orange, permanent red deep, rose madder, quinacridone permanent rose. I guess I'll just turn it back this way. Quinacridone permanent magenta, quin violet, dioxazine violet, cobalt blue number 2, cerulean blue, phthalo blue, ultramarine light, cobalt turquoise, viridian bamboo, cobalt green deep, green gold, yellow ochre, burnt sienna number 2, red brown, and Van Dyke brown. And what I noticed about the cerulean and the phthalo, this cerulean blue is PB15-3, which is a lot of companies will call that phthalo blue, if I'm remembering this correctly. And their phthalo is 15-6. One of them, I think, is like a red shade, and the other one's a blue shade, green shade. Not sure on that one. I'll have to look that up. But at any rate, very happy to have this. These are the paints I use to fill in here in my my portable painter. And the only one that I was a little bit concerned about was this cobalt green deep. I don't know if you can tell, but I've got a little bit of separation there. And I'm going to have to go in and stir that up here. I'll just use my palette that's out. And see how thin that is? Most of the paints were like that. So I'm wondering how much of this is just, it's become separated in storage. I only had a couple of the paints that were the consistency of traditional watercolor paints, and that was this magenta, the ultramarine, and you know what, this one had a funny blob that came out on the end. You can probably see that too. In fact, I should probably mix that one up as well. That is the burnt sienna. So for my, see how weird that is? That's the piece that came out. I've never seen that before in my life. Sure, it's not a problem. It's probably just going to mix up just fine. But, you know, if you were new to watercolor and you wanted a seamless experience, that could be a little off-putting. But for me, I'm sure these will work just fine for my purposes. I'm very happy to have them. And now I'm excited that I've got them loaded in my portable painter because I am going to give this a try when I do some plein air. I'm going to give this several days to dry though. And you know what? As I'm looking at this, I need to stir this one too. So I'll continue to fiddle with these and make sure that those binders are all mixed in. And then when they get kind of sort of dry, I'll come in and push them down with my finger a little bit just to make sure I don't need to add any more. So now that we've got this out, and this, the full review of this remains to be seen. So far, I think the packaging is awesome. In fact, let me put this, whoops. I'll put this back in here and kind of set it up where I'm not gonna run into it and knock it off the counter. I'll set it up to dry. Ah, what's a good location? Okay. Go up on the shelf for now. Don't touch it. That's the way it goes. Now, for these Mission Golds, I do have a very wonky looking swatch sheet that we can do though. And I wanted to try and do that with you here today. Let's do that trying out this little brush that came with my portable painter. I'm going to use the larger version of it. And let's see, let's start with the lemon yellow. This is, they call this a PY3. The light fastness rating is 4 stars. How are we doing? Can you see that? Yeah. And I'm going to intentionally go over my writing in each square so that you can see how opaque. this is. This one is semi-transparent and semi-staining. Now, we'll move on to the Permanent Yellow Light. This is PY154, 5 stars for light fastness. And that looks a lot like a Hansa Yellow Medium or Hansa Yellow Deep. I like that one. You know what? I like their Lemon Yellow. I'm going to zoom in on that for you because it doesn't look as neon as some of my other lemon yellows. I don't know if you guys can really pick that up on your monitors or cell phones or televisions, whatever you're watching, but every other lemon yellow I've had has been neon and I just don't like it, but I do like this one. So that's a huge plus for me. Now let's look at Permanent Yellow Deep. This one is PY65, has a 4-star light fastness, semi-transparent and semi-staining. I'm doing this like balancing it in my fingers, pretending I can be all cool and do this without spilling. So that's part of the suspense of this video today. Okay, I'm gonna close the window because somebody's mowing the lawn next door. All right, now Autumn Orange. Did I tell you what this one was as far as light fastness? I don't remember. Yeah, I did. But transparent, it is transparent and semi-staining, and this one has the 5 stars. Now we'll skip over to the Autumn Orange, which has also 5 stars for light fastness rating, is semi-opaque and fully staining. It is PO36. I'm not sure that I've used this pigment by this name before. This one also looks a little bit runny. Yeah, and see, that wasn't mixed up. Were you able to catch that, how it was kind of brown on the edges? Oh, this one might have some granulation to it though. Let's see what that does. It's hard to tell because I'm using hot press paper. I haven't had as good of luck getting things to granulate on hot press paper, but let's see. By the way, first impression of this brush, it's just fine. It'd be a good brush to travel with, so I'll probably keep it in there. Okay, Red Orange. This one is PO73. It has a 5-star light fastness rating. It is semi-transparent and semi-staining. This series letter here, that indicates its cost tier. And this one I believe goes A, B, C, D, E. Do they have an E? I could just be wrong. Maybe it's just A, B, C, D. You'll see that whenever you shop for watercolor tubes. They have price tiers. And this A through H is the price group. So A, in their case, is probably the most affordable pigment. This one is Red Orange, PO73. And I think I have this PO73. I think I've got that in one of my M grams. I'll get out my other watercolors here when I'm done with this and we can compare. Now we have Permanent Red Deep, which is PR254. It is it has 5 stars in light fastness rating. It is transparent and semi-staining. Nice, good red here. It looks like, oh, that is a nice, it's got a good cool tone to it. I like this one. Also looks like it might granulate a little bit. Okay, now Rose Madder, which always makes me think of that Stephen King novel. Did you read that? I liked that story. Anyway, this one is PR176. It has a light fastness rating of 4 stars. It is semi-transparent and semi-staining. And this one is a Series E, which means it does cost more for them to manufacture. And of course, if you were to buy it individually, this tube would cost you more than the others. Good color, Rose Madder. Kind of reminds me of Alizarin Crimson, but it's a little more toward the magenta side. It's just beautiful. It's great for roses. Lots of florals. You could use it in mixing skin tones. It has a lot of uses, as do all of these colors. Okay, Quinacridone Permanent Rose. This one is PV19, which is interesting because I know that one as Quinacridone Violet. So let's see what this looks like. This one has a light fastness rating of 5 stars. It's semi-opaque and semi-staining. And then it just has the name of the paint in different languages down there. Boy, there's not a lot of difference between those two, is there? Between the Rose Madder and their Quinacridone Rose, the PV19. That's just so pink for what I'm used to seeing PV19 look like. That's interesting how some companies, the pigment, you'll see that a lot. That, you know, you have the single pigment number, but it's not universal across brands as to what that's going to look like. So you really just have to get whatever brand is your favorite one and use that one, or use a different color in another brand. PR122, this is Quinacridone Permanent Magenta. It has a light fastness rating of 5 stars. It is transparent and semi-staining. But this is also, no, that's not the one. Never mind, take that back. There's, this next one here is also PV19. Ooh, look at this one. Okay, when I was a kid, and even still today, guys, this is my favorite color. I love magenta so much. Wow. That's what my grandson says. Wow. Okay. And for my granddaughter, I would ask her, which is your favorite color? And she would say, and tap her finger on her cheek. Let's see. Now we'll move on to Quinacridone Violet PV19, which is the same as Permanent Rose. I was going to check to see if that was actually a misprint. Let's look on their list here. The Permanent Rose PV19, and then Quinacridone Violet, no, PV19. Okay. This one, though, that's interesting. The Permanent Rose is the price tier E, and the Violet is a price tier D, and they have different staining. They're both semi-transparent, semi-opaque, but this one is staining, and this one is semi-staining. So let's look at the staining Quinacridone Violet, shall we? Fumble fingers here. Yeah, that's what I'm used to seeing PV19 look like. That's a fun color. I also think, I have to look it up to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that I read that Mijello Mission Gold paints use honey in their binder. So that's a cool color too. This is my happy place right here. Okay, now let's get to Dioxazine Violet. This one is BV23. Its light fastest rating is 3 stars. It is transparent and non-staining. Dioxazine Violet. Wow, that's a great purple. Really has a blue tone to it. Look at that. Try and get that cleared off so I can read what I wrote there. Oh, that would be perfect for mixing in with the yellow ochre to make a nice gray. You could use that in sunsets, in shadows, anything. Wow, in urban landscaping. I really like that one. Landscaping. Urban landscape painting. Okay, this is the episode where I just say words that don't mean anything and don't make sense, so just follow along. Cobalt Blue number 2. I don't know why it's number 2. Cobalt Blue is Cobalt Blue is Cobalt Blue. Maybe this is a hue instead of the actual cobalt, but it is PB28. At any rate, PB28, and here they've got the other one, another one with a duplicate pigment here down this, when we get to this Cobalt Turquoise. So let's look at Cobalt Blue number 2. This one is semi-transparent, semi-staining, and 5 stars in light fastness. Cobalt is such a good color to use for the sky, and I really like how it granulates. So I'm putting some extra water on here to see if we can get this one to granulate too. But it's just that good milky blue. Oh yeah, that's really granulating. That's quite nice. All right, next time I do color charts, remind me, I want to do it on rough watercolor paper because these, there's 3 of them so far that I think are granulating really well, and I can't really see on here too much. Okay, moving on to Cerulean Blue. This one is the PB15-3, which in some lines I do believe is a phthalo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. Semi-transparent, semi-staining. Cerulean is another one I like to use for the sky. Woo! That one's intense though. The cerulean that I use for the sky is M. Graham. That's what I was going to say. Honey. I knew it would come back to me. In Colorado or other dry or arid climates, having honey in your paints will help them to re-wet easily. And I read a blog post somewhere, I don't know where it was, but that you can go ahead and add honey to your own paints. You'll have to do the research on that and figure out if that works yourself. I've never done it. And there's only a few paints, to be honest, that I haven't had good luck re-wetting, but I will tell you this. Boy, hang on, I'm just stunned by that Cobalt Blue. Look at the granulation in that. That's so cool. This one looks like it's granulating too, which is a really cool thing. Anyway, honey in your paints. My kids live on the East Coast where it's more humid, and when I take my paints out there, I want to take the ones that don't have honey in it, because that they get sticky and then they twist and peel and crack when I bring them back home. So I'm sure they aren't being harmed. It just looks weird. And it's kind of annoying to try and use them. These are very similar. This one does have a warmer tone to it than this one. Again, looks like it's granulating. You know which one this reminds me of? This first one is Windsor Newton has a, what do they call it? It's a intense blue. Yeah, the Windsor Newton Intense Blue. That's what this one reminds me of. First impressions of all of these is really nothing but positive, though, I'll tell you that for sure. PB29, this is Ultramarine Light, should be nicely granulating. It is 5 stars of light fastness, transparent and non-staining. I use this quite a bit. I think everyone needs to have ultramarine in their palette. It's just a good primary blue. And look at already, you can see how well that's granulating. Give it some extra water so that you guys can really see here. And then when we move on, we'll be able to really see it. But yeah, you can see that right away. And the reason that you don't see granulation on hot press paper so much is because what granulation is it's the separation of pigments, the smaller particles from the bigger particles. And when those heavier particles settle in to the paper where you see these little granules, that is from, it works better on rough paper because it has more dips and rivets to sit into. But we can get a little bit on hot press. So there's the Ultramarine Light. That's a beautiful shade. I like it. Now we'll go into this Cobalt Turquoise Hue, and this is the one that was so runny in my palette. Was it? Green Cobalt Deep was the one. Sorry, I didn't put this one in there. I'm in love with turquoise, though. I will tell you, that is just such a cool color. I've been using it a lot lately in desert Southwest landscapes because you can get some really neat effects with turquoise that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get. Turquoise is just a really special color. And it looks so great with things like burnt sienna, yellow ochre, all those earthy colors. It's just such a great combination to that, a good complement. And right away I can see the granulation of that cobalt coming out. So that is their Cobalt Turquoise Hue. Love it. Now let's move on to Viridian, which is a green that I don't use very often. Let's take a peek. I had it in my very first watercolor set, and it's an emerald green, and I just think that that color in and of itself is not one that I know that it can be used in an awful lot of things, and I know that you can use it to change tints and enhance other things, which is great. And in fact, if you mix it with a yellow, you'll come up with a lovely turquoise. But for me, emerald shades of green just aren't my favorite. Now let's, oh, did I tell you about the Viridian? It is 5 stars in light fastness, transparent, and semi-staining. Now moving on to Bamboo Green. We've got another 5 stars, transparent and semi-staining watercolor. This one I'm betting is like a sap green. Let's see if I'm right. Yeah, kinda. I think sap green's usually a little bit warmer than that. But this is a good warm green, and I think not only would it be good for bamboo, but it's the one I put in my travel palette, so it'll be my little convenience green that I have in there. Now let's move up. I keep moving this up, but I don't need to because you guys can see the whole thing. Let's move up to the Cobalt Green Deep. This is the one that had separated. When that happens, what you can do is take a very narrow awl. It's like a long needle shaped, and just kind of poke it around in there and get it to mix up. I didn't do that. And you know what? My little back side of my brush just came out. Make sure I've got that in there right. Okay, moving on. Cobalt Green Deep. 5 stars, opaque, non-staining. So we'll see if we can, how opaque their opaque is. When we put it over these letters here. Ooh, that's a nice color. This reminds me of M. Graham's Highland Green, which this one I will use in landscapes because of it's more ruddy. I don't know how to explain it. It's got a blue to it. I'd be great in mountains, in pine trees. I'll put just a touch more in there so that we can try and determine its opacity. They say it's opaque. I have found this color to be sheer in general, and like M. Graham's Highland Green, this is no exception. Okay. Green Gold, a really nice color to have. This one's PY 150. It is 5 stars in light fastness, transparent, and staining. I do like green gold. As in and of itself, it's not a very attractive color, but it is beautiful on the paper. I use this color a lot, actually, and now I'm kind of regretting that I didn't put it in that palette, but I think I know where I'm going to put it. I've got that other little palette to fill, but isn't that just the prettiest color? Really great for aspen leaves, and oh gosh, you can use that for rocks, grasses, fields, all of that. Yellow ochre I use a lot also. This is another 5 star. It's PY 42. It is opaque and non-staining. The fun thing to do with yellow ochre when you're painting lakes or rivers is that this is a really good one to mix to use for that ruddiness of the water. When that water turns that greenish blue, I would grab your yellow ochre to mix there. Yeah, that's a real nice yellow ochre. Also naturally granulating. Looks like this one's granulating well also. Burnt sienna. This one is PR 102. I usually see burnt sienna as PBR 7, which they have as their Van Dyke Brown. So we'll see what this does. 5 stars in light fastness. It is semi-opaque and non-staining. Burnt sienna, again, this is number 2. I don't know if that means it's a hue or what's happening here. You know what? This looks a little bit more like the burnt umber that I have, which I use a lot. So that one I did put in my travel palette. That will be no regrets. That's a good one to have. I like to have, I did a split primary palette, and I'll explain that in a little bit here too. I wanted to be able to have the opportunity to mix, plus have a couple of cheater colors on hand for convenient shadows mixing and things. Okay, so this is red brown. Let's see what this one looks like. PBR 25. Oh, wow. That's like a Indian red or a Venetian red. That's very nice. Looks like leather. Trying to scooch it over. I got a big chunk of pigment right there. There we go. So there's the red brown. It is PBR 25. Again, with 5 stars light fastness rating. It's fully transparent and semi-staining. And now we have our Van Dyke Brown. This is the last of the large tubes here. And this is the PBR 7, the one that I said is typically, in my experience, has been burnt sienna. But that is definitely Van Dyke Brown. The burnt siennas that I have are kind of a mix between those two. So this will be an interesting new way to explore this color. Okay, so Van Dyke Brown looks good. Now let's look at the Chinese white, which is PW6. PW6 is used a lot to mix with a lot of craft paints, and I think that a lot of artists, watercolor artists, don't use it because, as I said before, if it can make Prussian blue fade, I'm no scientist, but I wonder what it can do to the rest of your watercolors. Of course, if you're just keeping it in a sketchbook, or, you know, it would take a long time for color to fade. So, you know, for yours in my lifetime, it's probably just fine. And there are no rules saying you cannot use Chinese white. Clearly, they make this paint. So I would say if it fits the need that you are looking to use, then by all means, use it. So, of course, it's not going to show up much on here, but I do want to go over the lettering. And that looks pretty standard. Let me close this up, and I will semi-transparent, semi-staining, and 5 stars for its light fastness. And that's about as opaque as Chinese white ever gets. If you're looking for an opaque white paint, I would definitely recommend just moving to a gouache. I use De La Rowney ink a lot. It's a bleed-proof white. I know P.H. Martin's makes one. So there you go. PBK7, it is 5 stars, semi-opaque, and semi-staining. So let's take a look at this. My brush was pretty dry there. I'll have to get it wet. Yeah, that looks like a very typical ivory black. To me, ivory black is a very warm black. And if you're using this in very light washes, it can be very effective. But just to use a black as a black on a painting, I struggle with it. I think it makes paintings look very flat. I would much rather make a black by mixing it out of some of the other colors I've already used. So there you go. This is the Mission Gold single pigment watercolor set. There's a really cool thing, and I don't know if it's on the Mission Gold website or in just some of the sets that you can buy, but you know, they make these wonderful bulletproof, it's what they call them, bulletproof palettes, and it makes artists sound really adventurous. But you can mix percentages of these colors to come up with other, you know, mixed percentage of these pigments to come up with yet another pigment, and they kind of show that to you in the palette that you can get. But for my purposes, I got this specifically so that I could have those single pigments and to mix them and use them as single pigments. So there's that. Now let's look at this little gem. This is again from Portable Painter. This is their micro. I was so excited about this one. Look how small this is, you guys. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It's just itty bitty. It's like the size of a little fat Altoid container. It's so tiny. The opportunities are limitless. Okay, we have the micro. All right, here's how to open it. You do like so. And this comes completely off. And then there's a little tab here, and you're just gonna lift that out and hold that flap out. Oh, and that's cool. Okay, so when see if I can show you this, when it snaps all in there. When you do that, when you grab onto this tab and lift this out, look what happens. It makes this pop out. How cool is that? So that pops out this way. And then I've got this case. So, okay, I've got 3 pieces here. What am I going to do with these 3 pieces? I'm going to take this piece and, okay, here's a picture. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. How cool is this, you guys? There we go. I've got my water. And then I'm going to do this. And I'm going to put that on there. Oh my goodness. This is made out of that same great plastic. So I've got water, or I could put a sponge in here and have my water separate. 4 areas to mix and 6 paints. Oh, this is going to be so fun. There's even a little finger hold here. So this is the kind that you put in between your fingers. So wherever that's comfortable for you. I think for me, I'd like to hold it this way. That feels more secure if I've got it this way. Oh my gosh, I love this so much. This is going to be a lot of fun. So, okay, I'm going to fill this one up too. And then in the coming up, future videos coming up, I am going to paint with these and see how they go. Let's see if I can remember how to take this thing apart. How simple. Oh my gosh, this is just the funnest thing ever. Okay, I did not get that in there right. See this section over here? That little divot has to go. This thing has to go here. There, yeah, and then that fits in really nicely. Just flush right there like that. And then this guy has this divot here. Snap, done, boom. Wow, how cool is that? And then you have this little pouch to put it in. And you could also add a travel brush in here, I betcha. I've got my permanent portable painter micro open again, because I forgot to, I got so excited, I forgot to put some colors in it. Since this one only has 6 spaces, what I'm going to do is put a cool primary and a warm primary. So I've always wanted to do this and just see how I can get by with the very minimum. This is a fun, actually, in theory, you should be able to do a whole lot more. So let's see what I've got here. I've got lemon yellow. We'll zoom in because this is so tiny. Okay, lemon yellow is going to be my cool yellow. We'll put that one right in here. This one's kind of runny. You can see what I meant about the others when they were just a little bit runny. And then for a warm yellow, don't know yet, let's do a cool red. And for that one, I think I like, yeah, Rose Madder is going to be the one I want for my cool red, because that one is really good for mixing pigments. So when I finally master portraits, which might be when I'm 97, I can certainly do a portrait of someone on the go. All right, so there's my cool red. And now for a cool blue. I think what we're going to do for our cool blue is going to be cerulean. Let's see what this one looks like on the inside. A little bit runny. No, this one looks normal. See, they're just normal to me anyway, means that they're a little bit more viscous. They're kind of thick. These were really liquidy. Okay, so there is my cool row. Now for my warm row, I'm going to do green gold because it is such a wonderful, wonderful, vibrant, transparent. Is this transparent? Yeah. Their version anyway. It's just, I love this color. Oh, and this is the one that looks funky too. So let's see. I'll bring it up closer here so you can see. That one's really thick. Oh, that's kind of gross. Sorry about that. Get in there, you. All right, so there's my green gold. Come on, BB. You need to go all the way to the corners. This is the other thing I didn't mention about these little portable painter sets is they're full-size half pans. There's quite a lot of paint in here. All right, green gold. That's my warm yellow. So let's definitely put ultramarine in here. Just a good versatile blue. There we go. And now the only one I'm having trouble deciding is that warm red. So let's see here. So I'm going to put in red brown for my other warm red. So alrighty. Here we have my micro painter. Now I got to make a little palette for the, not a palette. What do you call it? A swatch card for that one. I'll let you in on that little secret. Okay, this is the split this way, and then we do 1 and 2, and here I've got lemon yellow, and this is ultramarine light. All right. Let me get my little small paintbrush that I was using. See, now my first impressions of this paintbrush were I don't like it, but guess what? I like it. You know what? Just for fun, I haven't used this number 2 size yet. So let's do that for these swatches here. Now, since I just squirted them out of the tube, I'm going to go ahead and get this wet. And then dip in here. There you have it. There's my portable painter. Okay, I've got the micro, I've got the classic. Now we're gonna have to let these dry. You know what? I think I'm really gonna tell you right now, just as a palette situation, I am super happy. This is exciting. I am so excited that I got these. I've got this one, I've got this one, and you know what? This little brush is totally too cute. All right, guys, I give both of these a thumbs up as far as palette goes. We'll let you know how they do out in the field. And thanks to Mission Gold, I'm all set with my single pigments. All right, friends, thanks for joining me on Art on the Creek. We'll see you next time. Bye.